Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at weather for the next week, 10 days for today's second video, which will take us into the beginning of April. So we move into the early part of April with week 10-day video updates now. And it looks like we're going to be keeping a lot of anti-cyclonic influences going really through to the end of March into the beginning of April. Maybe signs of slightly more unsettled conditions through early April, but we'll have more on that as we go through the video. Just say that JMA Friday was released earlier on today. Is your month ahead look at it's taking us to the second half of April, and that is also confirming the idea of quite a lot of high pressure in charge for the next month. So have a look at that. It's here on the homepage. Have a look at that and see what's going on. This evening we're going to have the March ENSO update, bringing up to date with all of the developments in terms of El Nino over the past month. I'm going to start off though for this video having a look at the central England temperature. So this is turning into another very warm month indeed. CT is currently standing at 7.8, which is an anomaly of nearly 2.5 degrees above average, 2.4 degrees above average, provisional up to the 21st of March. So it does look as though we're on course for an 8 Celsius CT month, which is a very high number. That's a warm March, a very mild March indeed. So going to be around, but somewhere between 2-3 degrees above the 61 to 1990 average, I think, in line with what happened in February, of course, which came out at 6.7. That was an anomaly of the 3 degrees above average. January was very close to the 61 to 1990 average, actually a little bit cooler than the 81 to 2010 average. But February and March, in total contrast to last year, when February and March were actually the two colder months of 2018, in total contrast to that, February and March this year are a pair of very mild, if not quite warm months. So this is central temperature at Glasgow. This is going all the way back to the year of 1659. The central temperature is the longest consistent temperature record anywhere on Earth, but of course it does get more unreliable the further back you go. So those years are like 1600s, 1700s. They're just an indication of what the conditions were kind of like back then, but they're quite unreliable, those temperature data back then. And of course, as the years have gone on, the stations that are used for the CT, they have changed as well. So it's probably not fair to make a comparison to like the CT this year and the CT, say, in 1660. But anyway, it's the oldest, it's the best we've got, it's the oldest record that we have. If we scroll down to the very latest with 2019, so that's where we are just there, January at 4.0, February 6.7. So March is going to be placed just here, and it will probably be around 8 degrees. Now, the last time we had a CT in March above 8 degrees wasn't very long ago at all, actually. It's only back in 2017, coming out at 8.7. So, but it's not going to be as warm as that either. So this is probably going to be, or this looks like going to be the mildest March. This will be, I suppose I should say, the mildest March since 2017, but only for a couple of years. It's not going to get to 8.7 with the CT this year. 2012 also coming out at 8.3. Then we have that very cold March in 2013, of course, 2.7. That's the coldest March since around 1883, I think, some parts of the country. So we have seen a lot of variability, actually, with March's temperature over the past few years. Going back a bit further, some other years that had a March CT of 8 degrees. Well, none in the 2000s, interestingly. So before 2012, the last time we'd had a March CT of above 8 degrees was back in 1997. That one comes out at 8.4. So they have got a little bit more frequent, these Marches with a CT above 8 degrees in this decade compared to the 2000s. 1990 also comes out at 8.0. 1994, actually that's wrong. So it's 1990 comes out at 8.3. That's the right column. Then we also have 997, of course, 8.4. The warmest March on record, though, is actually a very long time ago. We have to go all the way back through the decades, back to the 1930s. So we get to 1938. And that March had a CET of 9.1, and that is the warmest March on record, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's certainly the warmest March within the more modern era, within the 20th century. I think it possibly holds the record, even going back into the 18th and 17th centuries. So 9.1, 1938, warmest March on record. We're not going to get anywhere near that. And we're not actually going to get anywhere near 2017, which again, remember, comes out at 8.7. We won't get to that this year. So it's just going to be the warmest March since 2017, nothing overly dramatic. But these Marches with CTs above 8 degrees possibly getting a little bit more frequent, certainly in this decade. Right, so let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. We're looking at London today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting much milder than average at the moment. We only see a bit of a drop in the temperature over the weekend into the beginning of next week. Doesn't last very long at all, though. And through the course of next week, the temperature picks up once again. Then we go into the first week of April. That's this period just here. Again, we continue to see a lot of scatter within this period, a lot of up and down going on. Overall, probably still coming out a little bit on the milder side. However, precipitation-wise, so it's really dry now through the rest of March. Bear in mind, this is for London, so it's in the far southeast, one of the drier places in the country, but generally dry up to the end of the month, and then a little bit more precipitation coming along through the first week of April, although you wouldn't necessarily say that's all that wet. So certainly for the southeast, it looks like we're going to have a lot of dry weather in the next couple of weeks. Temperature anomalies on the 22nd through to the 30th of March, coming out a bit above average, a milder than average week to close out this very mild month. Precipitation anomalies significantly drier than average, so it remains high and dry or mild and dry. No change really in the overall outlook in the next week. Here's the GFS for Monday. High pressure is almost over top of the country, bringing loads of dry weather, and that lasts into next week. Initially in the early part of next week, it will be quite chilly, but eventually this high pressure is going to start slipping over towards the east, and we'll begin to pull up warmer winds from a southerly to southeasterly direction. So temperatures will start to lift up through the second half of next week. It could turn very mild, if not warm, through the second half of next week, with temperatures rising into the mid to upper teens Celsius. That's through to next weekend. So this is Saturday the 30th of March, bringing up southerly winds then. So that'll be very mild if there's sunshine. Maybe a bit showery out to the west, but this is proper classic spring weather that we're seeing here. We've got today 10, which is April Fool's Day, Monday the 1st of April, with high pressure to our east, low pressure out to the west. So that's a bit showery in the west. Most places probably still quite dry, though. Winds from a southerly direction. It is likely to be a very mild, if not warm, start to April. In the more extended range, starts to turn a little bit more unsettled, or tries to. But overall, high pressure never too far away from our east. So it doesn't really go that unsettled through the first week of April. And with winds remaining kind of like from a southerly direction, it would remain quite warm, I think, through the first week of April. Parallel GFS run, again, the high pressure is ridging in across the country through next week, bringing loads of dry weather to many parts of the country. Go through to the end of next week, and it turns a little bit more unsettled with the parallel GFS run, although really for the south, anyway, for England and Wales, we remain close to high pressure up to day 10, which is the 1st of April. In the far north, it does look a little bit more unsettled on the parallel GFS compared to the operational. In the more extended range, well, again, just this idea, it's turning a bit more unsettled through the first week of April, but I'm not sure this is getting any more reliable. I'm not sure the models are firming up on this first week of April, really. So, again, still the idea, very dry conditions really up to the end of March, and possibly rather showery through the first week of April. But I've not really seen signs of properly unsettled weather here, I don't think, through the first week of April. ECMWF again, we've got the ridge building in across the country through next week, so going to be lots and lots of dry weather and probably more sunshine next week compared to this week as well. So temperatures should be warmer next week by day anyway. Up to day 10, just sunset a bit more unsettled, a little bit more showery out to the west, but we've still got high pressure to our east, so any rain from the Atlantic is going to struggle as it moves in to the UK around day 10. But again, I think probably the first week of April might turn a bit more showery, but probably staying quite mild, if not warm. These are the ECMWF ensembles. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today at day 10, which is the 1st of April. So we have 20 members of the ECM ensembles, which includes the operational run, that have a ridge of high pressure to our east, but low pressure is out to the west. Looks a little bit more unsettled, but maybe you might have thought going by the ECMWF operational run that was just looking at Wetter Central. So possibly a little bit more unsettled at day 10, perhaps. But the really unsettled options are these 16 just here with this deep area of low pressure up to the north and a proper westerly flow coming through. They are genuinely unsettled, maybe bringing bouts of wet and windy weather from off the Atlantic. And then there's 15, including the ECM control run, that have low pressure to our north, but they also have high pressure to the south, so they're a bit of a north-south split, jet streams in that sort of position, bringing the most unsettled conditions to northern parts of the country and the driest conditions to the south. In 2 weeks' time, this is for the 22nd of April, of course, so this is 360 hours away. We've got 29 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to the north and west of the country, high pressure to the southeast. So again, these are westerly and they're bringing westerlies through like that. And we've got 22 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure out to our west, and high pressure is to our northeast. So they're bringing in more of a southeasterly wind, really, and restricting any unsettled weather mainly to western parts of the country. It does look more changeable through the first week of April, but it's not necessarily going to get all that unsettled, really. CFSV2 finally for the next month, so these are 700 millibar heights for April. The latest is that we're seeing an area of above average heights to the north and to the east of the UK. So again, this will probably bring us a lot of dry weather, and you would expect sort of southerly, southeasterly winds, so a milder than average month for April is being forecast here by the CFS, not just for the UK, but through most northern parts of Europe as well. Very weak signals for precipitation. It's going for near normal precipitation, but I would have thought with high pressure just sitting to our north-northeast, you would expect quite a lot of dry weather, really, during April. So a relatively mild, maybe quite warm and dry sort of month looking probable for April to go along, of course, with February and the second half of March. First half of March, much more unsettled, of course. Right, so that's it for your week's 10-day video update for today, and also for JMA Friday. We'll be back tonight with the ENSO update for March. That's going to bring you up to date with all of the developments over the past month in terms of El Nino. Tomorrow we'll have the week ahead forecast. We'll also have a week's 10-day video update. Sunday we've got more summer analogues coming up for you, and the Gazoviz Sunny Roundup, and also the ECMWF and Meteo France seasonal look ahead. So 3 updates on Sunday for you to enjoy. But come back tonight for the ENSO update. That's all for now though, and thanks for watching.